Welcome to Sankofa Studios, where we have conversations about art, art history, contemporary art, and all things around the Black American arts tradition. We dig deep into the places where art and sociology meet to explore some critical ideas as it relates to Black American identity and expression. Welcome back to Sankofa Studios. We're going to jump right into the life of Lois Mailou Jones in our series called Remembering the Masters. We want to go back and explore these histories because sometimes we miss them. They're sometimes overlooked and I think underappreciated. And I really like to bring some of them to the forefront because they can be inspiring to artists from any art community. And we're gonna jump right into it. Lois Mailou Jones was born November 3rd, 1905. She passed away June 9th, 1998. I always say the date of birth and death because I believe that there's an opportunity for further exploration of these individual figures if we were to celebrate their lives and celebrate their works. In the same way that we celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday, we can celebrate the life of figures such as Lois Mailou Jones, who was born in Boston, Massachusetts. Her mother, was a cosmetologist, and her father would eventually become a lawyer in her lifetime, and they would move from Boston to Martha's Vineyard, which was a rarity at the time to find black folks living in Martha's Vineyard. But she did live in Martha's Vineyard, and there she had an opportunity to go to art school, arts high school, and she would meet the legendary sculptor who we will absolutely have an episode of Remembering the Masters about her. Her name is Meta Warwick Fuller. Incredible sculptor. She has what's the name of that piece? The Awakening of Ethiopia. Very famous sculpture that she did. I won't go into it now, but I'll put an image of it here so you can see a couple of her pieces. She was incredible as well and was an inspiration to Lois Mailou Jones. A testament to how one artist can inspire another artist just by seeing their work or meeting them and having a conversation with them. It's pretty powerful. But again, she grew up in part of her life in Martha's Vineyard, and she's a formally trained artist. And as she's going through school, while she was learning at the Ripley Studios, she started to experiment with African masks. And that resonates with me heavily because my earliest paintings were African masks, and I still paint the masks. There's something intriguing about it, so I get that from her. One thing about her that's unique is that Lois Mailou Jones had a very long career as an artist, 70 plus years. So she lived through several different Renaissance periods in black art in America. She lived through the Harlem Renaissance, the black arts movement in the 1960s and 70s, and herself was a Renaissance woman moving through the world of art. And in the 1970s, she took an extensive trip visiting Africa and the Caribbean. She visited Haiti, and while in these places, she created some phenomenal work. She really captured the African aesthetic in the diaspora. She captured that perfectly. And again, longtime teacher, longtime artist. I'll tell a little story about her that was given to me by another artist. But Lois Mailou Jones lived through a period where contemporary art galleries wouldn't show black artists' work. It was considered to be primitive. So they wouldn't show black artists' work. But when they didn't know that the artist of a particular painting was black, they would hang it anyway. So Lois Mailou Jones would ship her artwork to the gallery, unbeknownst to the gallery owners that she was a black woman. So she'd ship it to them, and they loved it, and they would have a show, and she would just say that she was unable to make it. But she would go anyway. And she just walk around the gallery looking at the art on the walls, and oh, this is beautiful, and everybody's loving it. And she's making sales, and people, really into it and having a great time, not knowing that the artist is standing right there next to that black woman standing there. So that's a powerful story and a testament to her perseverance and to a testament to the beauty of her work. She deserved to be recognized a lot sooner than she was, I think. We're going to jump right into a couple of her paintings. I'll just rattle off a few so you can get a look at them, and you can make your own determination on what you find beautiful in her art. I'm sure you'll find some great pieces here. But I'll name off a few. The Ascent of the Ethiopian is a powerful piece. I love the colors of it. Again, we talk about that explosion, that cultural explosion that took place during that period that we call the Harlem Renaissance. There was also an intellectual explosion at that time, a musical explosion. There was all kinds of arts and creativity happening at that time. You have figures like Du Bois, Alan Locke, Marcus Garvey, and then underground, germinating in the communities, you had different religious organizations that were developing, and this black culture was starting to awaken during that period. And you would find in her painting, in that particular painting, the Ascent of the Ethiopian, there's that little yellow section where you see the music, and above that the DRA, I believe the word is going to be drama. Above that you got the arts, and you have all these things happening here. And one thing about Lois Mailou Jones paintings that make them special, and in a way similar to Aaron Douglas, is that she merges the old with the new. She'll take ancient imagery and combine it with contemporary imagery. So you'll have a building that looks like it could be in Harlem or Chicago and Los Angeles or in another modern city, and then she'll add a pyramid in that same community, merging that old with that new. And in this period, that intellectual development, people like J.A. Rogers, who was a historian, was telling us stories about where we came from and what people we belong to, and et cetera, boosting our intellectual self-esteem, while at the same time we have people like Lois Mailou Jones and Aaron Douglas and other figures who are giving us visuals to these stories. So it's very powerful. They all worked hand in hand. So her works, along with those from her generation, I consider them to be intellectual expressions as well. Ubi Girl from the Thai region is a powerful painting to me. Lots of color. She took those things that made us feel self-conscious in a negative way, and she used those things to propel us towards a different type of consciousness. One being our noses. You see the front-facing woman, her nose and her lips, very prominent, very beautiful, and gave props to our natural aesthetic. And that's one of the things I love about Lois Mailou Jones. She takes our faces and she presents us in a way that it just shows the world how beautiful we really are. That profile face is actually, it's a mask, but it looks like she was combining a very realistic human textured face over that mask. So it's very interesting combination of things, and along with those colors, it's just a beautiful piece of work. And those color combinations and the geometric shapes that she uses, it just screams African aesthetics in such a powerful way. The Magic of Nigeria is a watercolor painting, a big watercolor painting. Again, clearly very, very, very African. Very, very, very beautiful. I really want to get into watercolor myself. I give it a shot. But looking at things like what she's doing, it's very inspiring. It makes me want to dive into that. That's very powerful. Then we got Dahomey, very colorful, very big and vibrant. As a matter of fact, some of those images in Dahomey, I've seen them in black and white, but she added color to them in a way that it just feels right. It just feels good, the way that she did it. Now she does these types of works, but Lois Mailou Jones is also an illustrator. She did a lot of illustration work. She does, of course, watercolor. She paints with oils. She has one painting that I love, Tete de Nigre, from 1938. It's a painting that she did while in France. And it's just a picture of a young black man with an afro. It's an oil painting. I love the presentation of this painting, the expression on his face. Everything about this painting is incredible. So I have to take my hat off to Lois Jones. And we want to remember her as one of the masters in fine art in America. Again, Lois Mailou Jones had a long career as an educator and an artist for over 70 years. One of the longest art careers in American art history, black, white, whoever. And we have to understand something about these presentations, this art. Art is a universal language. if you're an artist, no matter what culture you come from, you can speak and understand that language. It's different from music and a lot of other cultural expressions that can be specific to a region or a people. Art is not as specific, and anybody can comprehend or speak this language, this artistic language that all these artists that we're going to talk about speak. And I like to introduce them to you properly. Again, there's going to be a full PowerPoint presentation that you'll have access to at sankofastudios.com in about a week or so. And you'll be able to take that presentation and turn your dining room table into a classroom and teach this as a class to your family or learn it yourself, just to have these bits of information, very important stories about very important people all year round. It's just something, it's a beautiful thing to get to know these people and the works that they created. Again, you can reach me at sankofastudios.com, or you can send me an email at sankofastudios27@gmail.com. If you have any additional questions about Lois Mailou Jones or anybody else that we talk about in these presentations, just go ahead and shoot me an email and I'll get you more information. The next episode, we're going to go into some more fine art, more remembering the masters, and we're going to go into some stories about the paintings themselves and the processes that some of them use. We talked a little bit about that with Horace Pippin and his process of painting, especially having that damaged arm. But we're going to go into some more artists. Some of them have some very unique processes and some very unique and creative ways of utilizing the materials when materials were very hard to come by. I think you'll find it very interesting. But until then, it's been good, and I'll see y'all next week. Look forward to seeing you again, sankofastudios.com or sankofastudios27@gmail.com. It'll be around here somewhere. I'll put it on the screen. But until next week, peace.